So the most difficult part of working with loops, is something called a nested loop. So a nested loop is a loop inside of another loop. There will be an inner loop and an outer loop. It is important that you can trace through code for any type of loop, including a nested loop. The last page gives an example program of a nested loop, the output, and a trace of the code. Well, I'm actually going to do a trace of the code. It's important that you can understand this code. So this is the program we're going to trace through. Notice that I have declared a couple variables outside of the for loops, j, k, and sum equal to 0. I have an outer loop that's controlled by the variable j. I have some code that prints something. Then here's my inner loop. Notice how I get the nice indenting. Notice where the brackets are. I have 2 lines of code in the inner loop. After the inner loop is done, I have another print statement. These are the brackets for the outer loop. Once the outer loop, inner and outer loops are done processing, I have a couple other print statements. Here is the output below. And I don't want you to get freaked out because I'm going to walk you through how to trace through code like this. So if I asked you to give me the exact output of this program, you could do that. Hang on, I got to turn the lights on. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to my camera since you kind of see what's going on here now, and hopefully you'll be able to see everything that I'm doing. I'm going to be referring to the program and stuff like that along the way, but I'm probably going to need some room to do my work. So the first thing, when we trace through a program, I see I'm going to be using the variables j, k, and sum throughout the program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a column that says j, a column that says k. Sum, I'm already just starting off at 0. I already know that value. And over here, I'm going to have an area for output. So hopefully this doesn't get too messed up. So as I go through the line of code, the first thing it says for j equals 0. So j is 0. Is 0 less than 3? It is. So I go inside the outer loop. The first thing that I do is I print this message. So I'm going to print the 3 stars. It's going to say j equals 0, outer loop, and then the 3 stars. Then I encounter the inner loop. So I set k equal to 0. Is 0 less than 10? It is. So I go inside the inner loop. The first thing I know is I take the current value of sum, which is 0, and I add it to the current value of k, which is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. So I'm just going to show that I'm going to overwrite that. Then I print a message. K equals 0, and I write inner loop, and then I say sum equals 0. Then I encounter the curly bracket, which means I go back, I do the increment, so that means I increment k by 2. I check the condition, is 2 less than 10? It is. I go inside. I take the current value of sum, which is 0. I add it to the current value of k, which is 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. I print k equals 2, inner loop, sum equals 2. I'm done with the for loop. I increment k by 2, so now k becomes 4. Is 4 less than 10? It is. I go inside. I take the current value of sum, and I add it to the current value of k. 2 plus 4 is 6. And then I print k equals 4, inner loop, sum equals 6. And if I take a peek at my output below, I can see that I'm doing a good job so far. I'm done with this loop. I increment by 2. K is 6. 6 is less than 10. I go inside. I take the current value of sum plus the current value of k. 6 plus 6 is 12. The next line tells me to print k equals 6, inner loop, sum equals 12. I'm done with the loop. I add 2 to k. k becomes 8. 8 is less than 10. I go inside. Take the current value of sum plus the current value of k. 12 plus 8 is 20. So k equals 8, inner loop. And I'm probably going to start abbreviating that because I'm getting tired of writing it, and sum equals 20. I'm done with the loop, so I increment k to 10. Is 10 less than 10? The answer is false. So that means I'm going to bypass the for loop. I'm going to continue on with this line of code. This line of code says k equals 10 after inner loop finishes. And then the next thing I find is a curly bracket. But remember, this is the curly bracket for the outer loop. So when I'm done with the outer loop, I increment j by 1. So j becomes 1. And to make our life easier, I'm going to do something like that. Now, I check the condition. Is 1 less than 3? It is. I go inside. I print this statement. It says j equals 1, outer loop. And I forgot the 3 stars in front. I'll put those there and these after. The next thing I encounter is the inner for loop. Now, this is the most important step. The first thing we do is reset k to 0. So k becomes 0 again. I'll just write 0. I won't write k. So I have 0. Is 0 less than 10? It is. I go inside. I take the current value of sum, which is 20. I don't reset sum, only k, plus the current value of k. 0 plus 20 is 20. And then I print k equals 0, inner loop. I'm going to abbreviate sum equals 20. And if we go down and take a peek, we'll see here we are in our output. So once we're done with that inner loop the first time, then k is going to go to 2, and we're going to start this process again. 20 plus 2 is 22. So k equals 2, inner loop, sum equals 22. Finish the loop, add 2. 4 plus 22 is 26. K equals 4, inner loop, sum equals 26. Done with the loop, increment by 2, k equals 6. 6 plus 26 is 32. I'm checking my numbers, they look good. Inner loop, sum equals 32. Done with the loop, add 2. 8 plus 32 is 40, so when k equals 8, inner loop, sum equals 40. I gotta write that as 40. Increment k to 10. Is 10 less than 10? It is not. So I bypass the loop. I'm going to print the current value of k, which is 10. And then I say after inner loop finishes. And I'm sorry if you can't see. I'm going to try to be a little more careful. Okay. So that's done. I encounter this bracket for the outer loop, and I go up and I increment j to 2. And we're going to go through this quickly. So again, is 2 less than 3? It is. I go inside. I print. I'm going to write all that, the 3 stars. J equals 2, outer loop, the 3 stars. Then I reset k back to 0. I go inside because 0 is less than 10. I take the current value of sum plus the current value of k, and I get 40 again. So I'm going to print k equals 0, inner loop, sum equals 40. I'm done with the loop. I increment k by 2. 40 plus 2 is 42. So when k equals 2, inner loop, sum equals 42. Done with the inner loop, I add 2. Take sum plus k is 46. I write k equals 4, inner loop, sum equals 46. Done with the loop, increment k by 2. Then I add sum and k, I get 52. K equals 6, inner loop, sum equals 52. Done with the loop, add 2 to get 8. 52 plus 8 is 60, so when k equals 8, inner loop, sum equals 60. Add 2 to k, I get 10. Is 10 less than 10? It is not. This condition goes false. I pick up here, so I print k equals 10 after inner loop finishes. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to my code. I reached the end of the bracket, so that means I add 1 to j, so j becomes 3. Is 3 less than 3? It is not. So I'm going to skip around everything till I get to the other side of this curly bracket, because these are the curly brackets for the outer loop. And I do an SOP of 5 stars. I'm going to write that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5. And then I have another print statement that prints the current value of j, which is 3. So I say j equals, and then I say sum equals the current value of sum, which is 60. And then I write after outer loop finishes. So this was a really good example of how to go through a nested for loop. Hopefully that makes sense and that you can do that on your own and you will get some practice.